Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. Today we're at Grammy's house and she's got a little problem with mice, and we've identified numerous places that mice can get into her house. So we're going to show you what we do to close up those holes and help to prevent the mice from getting inside. Now to start with, I'm going to show you some of the products I'm going to use. I have, for starters, Great Stuff Pest Block. I'll put a link in the description if you want to purchase this. There are other brands. I don't get any revenue from recommending these products, but if you buy it on Amazon, I might get a few pennies, and that's all. So, buy what you think is appropriate. But we have the Great Stuff self-expanding foam that's pest block for starters. I also bought the copper mesh. In your larger holes, particularly if you got mice, they can maybe chew through the expanding foam. So we got some copper mesh that we can put in some of those larger holes, particularly the downspout that I'll be showing you here in a minute. And you can also use steel wool. It works very well to keep mice from chewing through your expanding foam. Anytime you're working with expanding foam, get you some rubber gloves. I hate wearing these things, but believe me, you don't want this stuff on your hands. Also get you a good flashlight. We'll be needing that more inside than outside, but it's very helpful. And there's also places I need a step ladder. So that's just some of the stuff you need to get started. And some of this stuff we'll put links in the description where you can purchase if you choose to. All right, let's move on to clogging up some holes that the mice are getting through. This is electrical wire. Anytime you're working around electrical, be very careful. If you see any place that the insulation is damaged, call an electrician or the power company, whatever is appropriate, but be real careful anytime you're around the power. But we got a hole right up in here, and I stuck my finger up in there. It does go up into the attic. If I can get this in there, it goes on up in there. So I cut some of this copper, and I'm just going to stick it up in there. Might have had a little bit too much, but a little too much is better than too little. Just poke it up in the hole, and then I'm going to take the Great Stuff and spray over it. Come on, there we go. Okay. I think that'll take care of that. And they say this stuff kind of sets in about 15 minutes, cures in 8 hours, so we should be good to go on that one. That should keep the mice out of that hole. And one thing I was reading on the bottle or the can, it says it protects against insects. I don't think it would protect against mice chewing through it, so that's a good reason to put the copper or steel wool in there, something that the rats and mice can't chew through. So that should be a good fix there. Now this is a little bit unique, is that this hose for the air conditioner goes up into what is basically a downspout for gutter, but that's how they got the hose into the attic. And I know I've seen chipmunks go up in there before. Right now we're fairly sure there's no chipmunks in there, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to spray the Great Stuff all over it because we've got such a large area to fill. Then I'm going to wad it up and I'm going to push it up in here, and then I'm going to spray a little bit more around it. So that's what we're going to do. So let's see how this works. All right. I want that Great Stuff mashed into the copper real good. Don't ever do this without rubber gloves because you never get all this crap off your hands. All right, now that I've got this soaked good, I'm gonna stick it up in here. And that Great Stuff will help stick it, because if I'd use just the copper, the chipmunks, mice, whatever, they could pull that copper mesh out. But the Great Stuff will help it stick. So I'm gonna spray some more around in some of the corners. And I'm gonna fill it up really good. with the great stuff. Now when this dries, you can take and clean off the excess. But we'll do that in another day because it'll take 8-10 hours for this to dry good. But that's how we're going to seal up a large hole. Now in this area I got this water line coming in. There's a large hole here. So I cut me a piece of copper mesh. I'm going to put it down in here. And I'm going to fill in here with the great stuff, and I'm going to push it in and work it in around a little bit. And I want the great stuff to help seal the copper mesh so it stays in the hole. Okay, I'm going to see if I can push this down in there just a little bit to get the great stuff into the hole good. And this is one reason you want rubber gloves. Sometimes you just have to take your finger and do things, and it gets really messy. Okay, I'll get some on the back side. That's a little bit messy looking, but it'll definitely keep the mice and the ants and stuff out. So there we go. So there we go. That fixes that hole. At this point, it's been 6 weeks since we did our sealing up of our cracks and crevices and that downspout there that goes into the attic. And at this point, we have not seen any rodents inside the house since we did that. So I feel like that's a good fix. I've done stuff like this before and it does work. The only thing you got to be careful about is, to look carefully to make sure you find all the entry points for mice. And I've heard that if you can stick your little finger in a hole, or even a pencil sometimes in a hole, a small mouse can get through that hole. So don't think a hole is too small. If you find any kind of cracks and crevices, seal them up, and that'll do a long ways toward keeping mice and things of that nature out of your house. So anyway, I feel like that's a good fix for keeping rodents out of your house, particularly mice. So at this point, I'd just like to say thank you for visiting Do It Yourself with Wayne, and we hope you have a great day.